Hi guys, Macman here. So in the earlier video you saw me setting up and doing a caliper change on my Dillon 650. So now we're just going to go through and we're going to get everything ready to load. So we're going to be loading, I've got these extreme 165 grain flat points. So these are what I'm going to be using, and what I tend to do is I always just give a quick check. That's zeroed out. And I always just go in and before loading just make sure, there you go, 40. So we know those are exactly right. And I've already gone through and I weighed a few of them and they're coming out at 165 grains. So we're good to go there. Primers I'm going to be using, we're going to be using the Winchester small pistol primers. I'm going to be using Hodgdon HP 38. And I've got used brass. So this is what it's all been cleaned, but it's still. So you saw the brass I got ready over here. So I've checked the bullets, primers ready, powders ready, brass is ready. So come over to the, let me get it over here. This is a lineman loading manual, 165 grain. It doesn't list HP 38, but HP 38 is almost identical to 231, and it's telling me over here 231 should be run between 5.2 and 5.8 grains. So it's giving me for 231, but what I can do is with a double check I can actually go to Hodgkin's website. Bring you over here, see if I can get this in here so you can see. Okay, so I've loaded up in the website and we've gone for 40 S&W, 165 grain, Hodgdon HP 38. It actually gives me that powder, and it gives me two sets. It'll give me a flat point and a jacketed hollow point as two variations. And it's telling me over here for the flat point to run 4.7 to 5.4 and the hollow point 4.8 to 5.3. So I always go off either the book or the data on the internet. And if I went back to look at my book now, it says 5.2 to 5.8 with 231, but over here it's telling me 4.7 to 5.2. So it's a little bit lower. I'm probably going to run these probably around 5. I'm going to be somewhere in the middle. We can test them, we can try them, and then if I need to go up or down a little bit. But 5, I've run these at 5 before, and I know they work perfectly fine. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is start loading up the 650. So we're going to be over here. And we're going to obviously load up the 650, get everything ready on it. So let's do the primers first. So I'm going to be running the Winchester small pistol primers. And if I take you over here, I have got the Dillon primer filler. So all I'll do is I will just drop the primers into the top of the, it's not a full wallet of them. It can get a bit noisy, and then I'll lift you and show you what we do here. So I do like this primer filler. I can normally just drop the primers in, I go back to my bench and I can get on and do something else while this is running. But you can see it's flowing through, it's dropping the primers nicely. It doesn't take long to do a full wallet. If they go in upside down, they can see they just drop. They fall off and they'll drop back into the pan again. And there you go, there's one or two, they'll pick them up on the next time round. So That's the primer filler. So the tube is ready. I don't put them into the machine yet because I want to set up my powder. So sorry about the movement, guys. I'm moving my tripod around here. So this is how I'm going to set up my powder. So obviously we need to put the powder in the hopper to start with. And then I get a primed, it's got the old primer in a primed piece of brass. It's clean, it's empty, and we need to cycle this through a couple of times to get the powder in. So I'll normally do this 2 or 3 times just to cycle the powder through the powder measure. Okay, so now we're empty. And what I do now, sorry, I'm going to have to move you again. I take this empty case, I'll bring it over and I'll drop it onto the scales and zero it. So we're good, we zeroed that piece of powder. Let me just go back to the press. So I've just dropped a bit of powder. I put the shell back on and we are at 4.1. So we're way down below where we need to be. So let's go back to the press. Dump the powder, and then to increase the amount of powder we need to turn the bolt on the back here. We can just get on there with it and we turn it a couple of turns there, and we do the whole process again. So my scale is already zeroed to this piece of brass, so we're going to go in and cycle a couple of times again. We've changed the setting in there, and now this one is the one I'm going to weigh, and I'm at 4.6. So we are getting close to where we need to be, so we can go in, do a couple more adjustments, open it up a little bit more, and then I will cycle it again. And this is the one we can check and weigh. So I'll just go over here. .1, 5.2, so just a fraction over. So I'm going to take it back a little bit because I do want to be set at 5. That's the weight that I want to be set at. So I'll just take it back a quarter of a turn. Again, cycle it a couple of times. And we'll weigh this one. Let's take this over back to the scales. If you can see it from there. So this time we're at 5.0 smack on. So what I'll do is I'm going to go back, I'm going to tip the powder, make sure the shell is empty. Cycle it once more on the scales to do the check. 4.9, 4.9, 5.0. That's fine. I'm happy with that. I'm well within the range. They want 4.7 to 5.4. We are well within the range where we should be, and I can go with that. Okay, so we've got the powder set up, everything is in there. So the next thing I need to do is I drop my primers, pull the tube out, drop the primers in, make sure the buzzer's working. I drop the rod, and I always like to put a 45 shell case, if you can see that, on the top of the rod here. Just up here, I put a 45 shell case. Gives you just that little bit extra weight, just to hold that rod to keep the pressure on the primers, and I find that works really well. Okay, so we got the primers loaded up, and the next we're gonna do put some shells in, some pieces. So I tend just to fill up my hopper, drop them in. So we got some shell cases in there, ready to go. I don't switch them on yet. What I'll do next, once that's loaded up, bring you back down here. So I'm just move my pins. Always remember, guys, only one pot of powder on the bench at a time. So we're using the HB38. I actually sit it down just behind my press. I know exactly what powder's in the hopper. I only keep one powder on the bench at a time. A lot safer, you don't get mixed up, you're not going to have to waste powder. So the next thing I want to do is I need to run a piece of brass through, and I want to check that, make sure that I'm getting the right depth, getting the crimp and everything done there. So I'm just going to drop one in there, bring it up. So we've sized it, deprimed it, but there's no primers in there yet because I haven't brought them through. So just raise the arm up a little bit and bring them through till you see a primer. I can drop that back in, push forward to set the primer. Nicely done. And then the next time I'm going to bring it up and it's going to drop the powder. Let me show you my bore scope that I got set up here. So you can see on the back here, there's my phone set up with a camera going down through here. So as I bring it up, and you can see as you bring it up a second time, boom, you can see that there's all powder in there, and you just can keep an eye on that as you're going through. I really like the setup of it. I don't have to stand. I'm not trying to look down into the shell to see if there's powder and everything. I'm keeping an eye on everything. Here as I'm loading, I can check on my phone. My phone's giving me the camera and everything that I need. And I can see straight away. There's powder in there. One thing I didn't show you guys, which we can do now. So once you size the piece of brass, you can measure the top, and this one's at 4.2829. And if I pull this one out, I do put a little flare on them. I like to put a little flare just on the top, and it helps seat the bullet. The bullet just drops in and sits there. It doesn't catch. It's just flared just a little bit, so that bullet will drop in nice. And then you can check on the top. And now I'm about 4.40. So I've got 10 or 11 thou of flare on there. It's just, you can just feel it with your fingers. It's nice. It's not over stretching the brass, but it's enough just to seat this bullet. So I've got this set up from last time. So I haven't touched this yet, so I'm just going to bring the bullet up, start to seat it, handles all the way down. It's fully seated. And now I'm going to go back to the lineman book for this bullet, and it's telling me 1.120. Overall length 1.120. And we've got 1.119. So it's just 1 thou under where they're telling me. That's fine. I'm not going to adjust this. I'm almost smack on. 1.120 asking for, and I'm just 1 thou under. And then the last process, I'll go in and I'll actually put it in where I've set the crimp. So I'll bring this up, hit the crimp, and there you go. You can see there, I don't know if that is coming out well on the camera or not, but you can see there's a nice crimp all the way around, nice clean crimp. I believe I have a case gauge here for 40, 45, 357, 40. So for the last check, we can see how good or bad I'm being. So there's my Ellie Wilson 40 cal case gauge. Drop it in, and there you go. She drops in perfectly and just drops straight back out. So the case gauge shows that everything's fine with it as well. So now, with the whole setup all done, everything's good. You've checked your powder, you've checked your depth of the bullet when you've seated them, you've done your crimp, everything is good to go. So now we can just switch on the hopper. They will start to fall. There you go. So that's, the tube is full. So all we're going to do now is we're going to start bringing them round. Put my pins back in because we know everything is right. Everything is all set up. So the first station, the sizing, depriming. Second station, we can push forward to set the primer. And then as you can see now, we've got the TV on the phone. Let me just turn that so you can see that as well. So as I'm coming round, I can bring that up. I can see there's powder in there. Goes on to the next station. I drop my bullet in, we've already flared. Bring it up nice and slow. Powder in there again. Seated the bullet. And the next one, let's seat another bullet. Keep just a quick look at the TV on the phone. Tells me that there's powder in there. So it's all working fine. Let me just take the camera off here a second. I just want to show you a couple of the things I've done. So when you're standing here, obviously you can see the TV screen. It's great. Bring it up there. I've got the mirror connected to the top so I can keep an eye on my hopper. I've got the upgraded roller in here on this one. Makes a big difference. And I also have the upgraded rod here with a roller and roller bearing in the bottom of that one as well. And I've got this one set up with a tube rather than having the little plastic bucket they have underneath. I've got the tube going all the way down, and it goes down and it just drops into a, I got it set up and it drops just into an old powder container, and that's where my primers go, so I can catch all the primers. They're not going all over the floor. So there's the setup, guys. There's a few new primers, because when we were going through and setting everything up, obviously we run through without having cases in it. So let's just pop that back in here. I'm just gonna set this here, and I'm gonna run through and do a few. And what I tend to do is, probably after about 20 or 30 rounds, I'll double check the powder. I measure the depth of the bullet again, just to make sure. And then I can catch the last one that came out, and then just drop it into the case. Still fits in there perfect. So I've got that turned away a little bit. Sorry, so I just checked that last one that went through. It sits in there perfectly, drops in and drops straight back out. Go in the bucket. Through, make a few more. So that one went out, didn't pop the primer out, didn't go through properly. So I just pull that piece of brass aside. Once this 650 is set up, you can just go through. Very consistent, very easy to use. Main thing is to keep an eye on there. You're keeping the hopper full, you're keeping your powder full, and you're keeping your primers full. So there you go, guys. There's a quick video of how I set up my 650. So it's all set up for running 40 cal. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Like, share, subscribe. I will be doing a nice giveaway when I hit 400 subs. I'm going to give away one of those nice out the front knives. So keep an eye out for that. Like I said, like, share. I appreciate everything that you do, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on the next.